Hi everyone, Danny here. Welcome to my backyard snack yard. Today I want to just give you a little autumnal tour of my garden before it all dies down for winter. One of you suggested I do this and I thought it was a really nice idea, so I hope you enjoy it and thank you so much for the suggestion. Here we go. Straight outside of our front door we've got the patio, which is my sunniest position, and I've got a whole row of high bush blueberries here. They do really well in pots. They can't be in the ground here because my ground isn't acidic enough and they need ericaceous soil, but having them in pots means I can keep them exactly as they want to be kept, which is perfect. I've got a few different kinds here and they're all getting their beautiful autumn colours now, which is stunning. And down here's a little dingonberry as well, really cute. You can see the glass door, you can see the plants inside the house. And so here we come, and we've got a little tiny greenhouse. This is where I keep my seedlings and anything a bit tender over winter. I don't heat it at all, so it's just protected from the sort of winds and things spot. And right now it's full to bursting with tomatoes. They've gotten completely overgrown. I'm going to pick them all down now and try to make some green tomato ketchup out of the green tomatoes. We love green tomato ketchup, so I actually like having a few extra green tomatoes for it. It's delicious. I'm going to clean this whole area up today. It's a nice sunny weekend day, and so I can get it all ready for winter, which is coming. Here's another one of the tomato plants that was outside, and it's just completely sprawled everywhere, and it's getting very autumnal as well. And there's one of the apple trees I've shown before. It is a red devil apple tree. It's right here. One last remaining apple on it that hasn't been munched. It's the smallest one, so maybe that's why it was overlooked. And then I have all the pots that do best in sun still here. Some of them have been moved to other parts of the garden now for winter. There's a Chilean Guava, and a few more of them. Some of the strawberries I have in pots. Some of these are actually pine berries, the sort of white strawberries that taste of pineapple. This here is a goji berry, which is definitely starting to go dormant now. It's losing all its leaves. And here we have a cucamelon, which is also starting to look worse for wear. And here we've got this massive butterfly bush. It's really great for pollinators. It has these really sweet smelling, really beautiful flowers. And it's actually a really good one to have because it really protects this area from winds, and also I can put things underneath it if it gets too sunny, like it was this year. Like my chili plants, they all were nestled underneath it at one point when it was really blistering sunshine. And here we've got the hibiscus I've shown before. It's a hardy hibiscus. It just flowers all summer. And this is like a flower bed that I'm trying to make into a little place full of food. We had some peas are growing over there, which is lovely. And it's been taken over by all these little guys here. Nasturtiums, which I didn't actually sow, they self-seeded themselves. And when everything else was pretty much gone, I just let them self-seed because I really like collecting their seeds and to make delicious capers from. Oh, and I have lots of raspberries here. These are yellow raspberries. And they're still flowering and fruiting, some of them. Over there I've got a few extra tomatoes, which are doing well considering that they're behind this big bean tower, which tends to feed us with beans all summer long. And there's still some pretty flowers on it. Oh, it's really tricky to focus, but anyhow, there it was. And we have a few more things over here, not to bore you, but we do have some other things like pineapple guavas and things like that, and they can stay out all winter, which is brilliant. So coming down this pathway we have a flowering pink currant, which is not edible, but it does actually produce little berries that the birds love, and it also gives us lots of protection from the neighbor. But I would like to replace it at some point if we can. And I've got this beautiful apple tree growing over this archway, which is so stunning. I had to really do lots of pruning on it, and it's paid off a lot, and the apples are really tasty. And then down here we have a japonica quince, which is actually an ornamental, has beautiful flowers in the spring, but the fruits are also edible once you cook them. They're also full of vitamin C. They were known as the Baltic lemon because of that. They used to make cough remedies or cough syrups or just winter syrups out of them. They're really flavorsome. And actually today I was at somewhere where I found a real quince. I want to just compare it. So here we have a proper quince. You can see it's a lot larger, but just as yellow, not as fragrant as the japonica one. So I was thinking about making something together with both of them, like a sort of nice jam. Really fun. Both lovely fruits. And they're yellow when they're ripe. So down here there are a few more quinces hanging, and they're not quite yellow yet, but they're actually really large. They're nearly as large as the actual quince. This little area here is quite shaded, but I do grow lots of tulips here. So hopefully in the spring we'll have that. And of course there's some lovely hydrangeas there too. This thing here over in this area is a duo pear tree. So it has two kinds of pears growing on one tree, which I find so interesting. This side over here has conference pears, and the other side is supposed to have concord pears, but I haven't actually tried concord yet because we had some conference ones last year, and then this year I really pruned it, and then we had a really late frost, so it didn't have any fruit at all. But I'm going to give it a good prune this year. It's getting far too tall. It's probably hard to tell exactly how tall it is, but I can reach up to here and you can see how much further up it goes. So it does need a good pruning. There's too many leaders and all those really straight branches there, so I'm going to do lots of pruning this year. But yeah, we've got loads of little things growing around here. I like to grow things up my children's little playhouse too, so we've got some fun things. And actually I found this is a good spot to grow my little extra guy here, my Yester Berry that I grew from a cutting, and he's doing really well here. He looks quite happy, and of course he can do in a shaded spot, so this doesn't get quite as much sunshine as it could if it wasn't underneath this enormous cherry tree. Now, this cherry tree, I would love to lower the crown on it. It's so tall, gives lots of shade, but it also produces lots and lots of fruit. During the lockdown of 2020, we just had bucket loads of cherries, which is wonderful. It was a really hot sort of early summer then. So it is really good for them, but of course because it's so high up, we can't pick lots of them. So the pigeons love them, but it'd be nice to have it a bit shorter. And also if we cut some of it down, like just lower the crown, then we could hopefully, potentially have more sunlight in the garden. Because right next to this cherry tree we got a big eater apple. A cooker apple it is, not eater, a cooker. So they're a little bit tart, really big apples, and you can cook. I make lots of apple cider vinegar from them, and I've made some apple jelly. You can make apple pie obviously, but I don't make too much apple pie. And here is one I've shown you before, my persimmon, which is getting really big, really healthy looking, and I hope it will fruit soon. It hasn't done so yet. I've had it for 4 years now, so it's getting to the stage where it might start fruiting soon. And here I've shown you recently I was planting my little Saskatoons out. I've got 3 little Saskatoons growing right here. And they're starting to look really autumnal as well. We cleared this whole area. We had lots of ornamentals growing here, which we just thought, let's make it into more of a food area, because I would love to have a food forest, and it's not quite big enough for that, so that's why I call it a snack yard. Just produce as much food as possible, really. And here, this is actually an aronia berry, which was also known as a chokeberry at one point. So it's supposed to have some healthy berries, not super tasty, but you can cook them and then they're nice. So that will be fun. Oh, these are some of these lovely hydrangeas I grew from cuttings as well. They're starting to change colour and look quite autumnal as well. And then over here, there's a bit of empty space now that we've chopped so much down. So we're going to clear it a bit and then hopefully plant some pawpaws, American pawpaws here. That's the plan. And this is a little apple tree that was here when we moved in, and it was quite scrawny and sort of shaded out by other plants and other trees, but it produces the most delicious apples. So we're trying to keep it going and keep pruning it. This was an area that actually was full of a bunch of conifer bushes, and we had to get rid of them because the roots were getting into the house foundation, which was really unhealthy for the house. So we chopped it down and then had a bit of space. So I'm growing this is a kiwi, a self-fertile hardy kiwi called Jenny. And it hasn't flowered yet, but might do so at some point. It was hit by frost early on this year, so it's just sort of doing okay now, but didn't have any flowers or anything. The same thing for this hardy kiwi berry, which is also deciduous, so it's starting to lose its leaves now. But it had so many flower buds early on, and then it was hit by that early frost and they all died. It's a self-fertile one that actually fruits really quite early on. It's called Isai, which means first year, so it would fruit in the first year, and it did. We had some fruits the first year, and then the second year, which was this year, we didn't have anything because of the the early frost or the late frost, or whatever it was, a frost that killed them all. So hopefully we have some more better luck next year. And then I've got lots of red raspberries growing over here. They're actually a fall variety, so they're fruiting and flowering now, and have been doing for quite a while now. They're really big and delicious. See if we can focus on them. Really big guys, really tasty. And I'm just going to let them grow all the way along here, along this wall. And then coming down here, because the garden sort of wraps around the house, here we've got the Yester Berry. I planted him here in the middle of a bunch of lilies of the valleys, but he seems to be okay because he can do quite a shaded spot, and it's not the sunniest spot. Here we have hardy fuchsias that are all starting to die down now because winter is coming. I've shown them before how they produce these little berries that are really healthy and really tasty, and it does that even though, you know, it flowers and fruits at the same time all summer long, so it's a really good bush to have. And there are two of them here, and once winter is over, because they're deciduous, they'll lose all their leaves and everything, and then by March I'll just take them and just chop them right down to here, so really, really short, because you can see, if I go back a bit, you can see just how tall they are. So I'll cut them right down, and then they'll shoot out new growth, and they'll flower and fruit on the new growth. And here we have a few more things coming down this path. It's just like lots of ornamental things. And this little pathway leads us into, love this, this is the jasmine, look how beautifully it's done. And this little pathway leads us into our tiny courtyard, which is a very protected spot because there's like walls all around it. There's the Szechuan pepper tree, which hopefully will fruit and flower at some point, not this year. And we have Wisteria, and these are some of the ones I've shown before. Fuchsias, all growing very, very tall here in a little planter. It's the second year of growing here, happily. And just let's see if we can see any more. If there's any more fruits, it's actually starting to run out of fruit now. It's been fruiting and fruiting and fruiting, but now the season is about to end, sadly. There's one. Let's have a look. So like that. And then you pick it, and look at that delicious berry, golden berry. These have been so delicious. We've absolutely loved them this year. So yeah, that is pretty much, I think I've shown you most of the garden. There's one more little tiny space I'll take you out to now, but I've also, this is where I'm going to keep lots of things, like lots of the Chilean guavas. This one still has a few berries left on it because they're meant to be ripening around now, but that we're in October. That one just fell off. Lucky me. This is like how I get little snacks now walking around in my snack yard. But you can see they're actually turning redder. This is called Bella berry, which actually obviously means pretty berry, which seems very apt. Beautiful berry. So I'll take you around to the one last little spot. This is one more little tiny corner of the garden, I should say. And it's where we have a really big lilac, which is where we feed our birds. And have a few flowers underneath it. And most importantly, where we have our Dwarf Golden Delicious, which still has a few fruits left on it that haven't been eaten. Such a stunning tree. So that was some of the garden, most of the garden. I hope I've shown most things. I think I've left out a flower bed or two, but I'll just take you down to it now actually. This is the flower bed, which has the red devil apple tree in it. And coming down, I'm gonna look. I've got some peonies growing here. They're my absolute favorite flowers. I've got some white ones on this side and then some pink ones on the other side. They're lovely in the spring. Got some different myrtles growing here, and they also produce interesting berries. There we go. And interestingly enough, I have this one here. This is a really lovely mulberry bush called Charlotte Russo. It's supposed to be a dwarf mulberry bush. I had lots of fruits all year last year. It's a bit like the hardy kiwi berry. Had lots of fruits the first year, just sort of fruited all year, constantly producing them. But then this year was hit by that frost, that late frost, and it actually just killed everything. So it's taken this long to recuperate, but it's got lots of new branches here, so I'm hoping that it'll be good next year. We'll have to see. I've got a few honeyberries growing here now, which are also starting to die down for the autumn. And here is a dwarf Victoria plum. I like lots of dwarf trees because my garden's so small, so it's nice to have lots of small things. And he's growing quite well. We haven't had many fruits from him. We had I think it was one the first year, and then they all didn't make it this year because of the frost. It actually had lots of flowers, and then they all got hit by that frost. So next year, if it fruit flowers again, I might cover it with some covering if we do get some late frosts. Well, let's see what happens. You just never know. It's always a bit of a gamble. But I think I've shown you most things. I do have a few other honeyberries I might have forgotten to show you, but I've got 5 in total around the house. So we'll see how they do next year. But I hope you've enjoyed this little tiny tour, so you can see how I squeeze things into any little spot. And I'm seeing I've got a bit of empty spot here. Once I do some weeding, I might have some extra space here to put some more things. I also want to put a few more lupins around here that I'm growing from seed, so we'll see. I've got some more currants here. This is black currants. They're giant black currants. They're 3 times the size of regular black currants. These ones are called Big Ben. So I've got one here and then another one over there, and this is a sunny spot, so they should do well here. And I also have a pink currant I need to plant out. It was a bit sickly when I got it, but I've treated it, kept it right in the middle of the lawn on its own, and it looks like it will be okay. So I'm going to plant it out and try to get it settled in for winter. But I hope you've enjoyed this tour. I hope it hasn't been too boring, and I'll hopefully see you next time. It's not the prettiest time of year, it's a very messy time of year, so maybe I'll do one again when everything is looking beautiful in the summer or so. But do let me know if you've enjoyed this or if it's been absolutely boring, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Until then, happy gardening!